Hello YouTube. In this video I'm going to show you how I'm going to change my rear brake shoes, and this is a 99 Honda Civic. Alright, first thing I want to do is get the car up on jack stands. I like to set the emergency parking brake, and that'll lock your back wheels. And then I like to bring up the front of the car first. And right down here you got a lift point. You just put your jack there, lift it up, and I'll show you your support points here. Coming over to the side, you just come right down here and you'll see a lip right there. You just put your jack stand right there, that's your support points. And there's one just like that in the back there. So after you get the front lifted up on jack stands, then you can swing around and go to the back of the car. And it's got just a little loop deal right there. That's your lift point for the back, or where you put your jack up to lift up the car. And then we use those back jack stands. Okay, I just like to take a little regular 3/8 socket and I use a little cheater bar, and I just break these loose. I still got the brake on at this point. And then just get yourself like a cordless drill. Take those bolts off there. Doing this one-handed. And of course you take the wheel off. Yeah, pretty good for one hand. Get out of the way. And then I'm going to do that on the other side. And then after I get the other wheel off, then I'll release the emergency parking brake. Alright, it's starting to get pretty sunny out here, so it's hard for me to see what I'm shooting. Here's some tools you're going to need. You're going to need, of course, some brake clean. I like the 3M. I just had some old stuff left, some generic stuff left around. I'm going to try to use that up. But I highly recommend the 3M brake parts cleaner. Get yourself an old tile. Put it, I think I can see that on the screen. Put it underneath the brake drum there. You're going to get a dead blow hammer, some gloves, some safety glasses, and a mask so you're not breathing this stuff in. Of course, then I got my brake shoes over there, and then at this point I've released the parking brake. And you only want to work on one side at a time. That way, if you have issues and you don't have a book or something, you can go to the other side and take a quick look at how that's done. Okay, so for this next part, it should come off easy for me because I made a previous video showing how I was inspecting these to know I needed to change the brake pads. But you want to get yourself a dead blow hammer. And difference, I'll do a video on what the difference is, but this is a dead blow hammer. And you're just going to tap that brake drum. Remember, you have your parking brake off. And again, yours probably won't come off that easy, but just work with it. If it's too hard to get off, there are some screws in the brake drum that you can put some. I've never had to do this, but you supposedly put a bolt in there and tighten it up, and it'll help press that off for you. Alright, for me, I'm just going to do a quick spray down. Kind of wet some of the brake dust and get a little bit clean, so I'm not breathing too much of it. Alright, so then that brake cleaner will evaporate really well. That's why you use a brake cleaner, because if you get it on your brake pads, it'll evaporate off. And then that's why I use a little towel, because the debris, the brake dust, it gets trapped in the brake fluid and drips down, and then gets trapped into the rag. Keeps your floor clean and helps keep you from breathing that stuff. Okay, I'm going to try to show you how you take these style clips off. Notice that they kind of go from the bottom up. I'll just zoom in and just kind of let you see it. I like to reach around behind and push. I'm going to reach around behind to kind of help stabilize this pin that you'll see come out. Alright, here's what you're working on. It was in there like this with the back pin inserted and twisted 90 degrees, so it kind of locks in like this. So all I did is held this so it wouldn't spin, pushed with the pliers in, and then twisted it and took it out. I'm going to do that on the other side now. Alright, the next piece I chose to take off was that spring right there, and I just lifted up. I kind of put it back because it came off really easy. I just grabbed the bottom, pull down, comes off. This goes behind the spoon. Just kind of work it free. This comes off. Okay, I wanted to try to avoid busting my springs. The springs aren't that expensive though. They're like $1 a piece, and you can get a whole spring kit for $7 at AutoZone. And ideally you're supposed to take off this top one first, but I was having such a hard time with it. What I did was I just took where would I take here? One of these. I don't know which one I used, but basically I probably got in, I'm not sure which pliers I used, but I got in behind it, and I think I used my needle nose, and I got in behind it like this, and I just twisted and popped it out. But when I did that, it ended up bending the spring, so I'm gonna have to get just get a spring kit for $7. And I should have put this on the stand. The rest of this should come off pretty easy. Hold on there. Alright, try to get a better camera angle here. Just let you watch what I'm going to do. Now there's going to be a cable, the brake cable is going to be held on here. And like I said, normally you'd try to get this one off. One thing I did do is I have a tool here, and you can position this here, and I tightened by lifting up on the star that's in here. That brought the top ones together. I did that in an attempt to loosen some pressure on that spring. I don't know if that's a good way. Also, you want to try to keep these from popping out, but I don't know if it's going to be possible. There we go. So, now, I don't know if it's showing up on camera. There's a horseshoe right here, and you need to get that off. And that'll be pretty much it. You got this piece up here. So I'm going to just get some, it's kind of a different style. I don't like that style because I can't really reuse that clip. But that's what I got to take off next, and you just get in there with some pliers and get that off. Alright, what I end up having to do is, that's your parking brake cable, and it just loops to this little piece right here. It's just a open U shape. So I just slid that off so I could work on this. And this clip, like, it's super steel, man. It would not come off. So I had to kind of like chisel it off and fight with it for quite a while. Now it's off. So you need this part, this washer, this pin, and this should come with a regular C clip or E clip, I guess sometimes they're called, inside the parts kit. So basically I got the brakes all off, and probably just gonna spray this, clean it up a little bit. I need to run to the parts store and get a new spring kit, because I don't trust those springs because they got a little bit banged up. So probably pays to get a spring kit ahead of time. Alright, it's starting to get pretty hot out here, so I'm kind of working in between brakes there. So what I did is I cleaned this up again real good with brake cleaner. And there's these little 3 pads over here. You can see it there, there, and there. All I did is I put some anti-seize on it, just a little bit. You want to wear gloves, and also make sure you're wearing eye protection when you're spraying the brake clean around. So I put a little bit of tab on there. There's some on this side, 3 little tabs there. And then I put just a little thin coating around the hub. I didn't put, you don't want to get it on your threads there, just to help the brake drum so it doesn't seize up on there very much. Then what I did is I cleaned off the adjuster really well, and this is reverse threaded, and it just comes apart. You'll see. When I say reverse threaded, when you spin this, it's the opposite way than you think it is. It's kind of hard to do with one hand, it's all greasy too. And so for this, I backed it off, cleaned it all up with some brake clean, and then I just get some caliper grease, kind of grease it up inside there, and make sure it's all running really smooth. And that's about where I'm at. I got a parts kit, but the springs in it, I mean, they're good, but they're really cheesy compared to the OEM ones. Even the one I got bent looks, I think these are original OEM from 1999, and they look in really good shape, and they look a lot better. I should have probably just got OEM springs. They're only like $2 a piece at Honda. But the main thing I needed was new C-clips, so I'll definitely use those C-clips, because those OEM ones are really hard to get out. Anyway, so I'll just keep pressing on and telling you what I'm doing as I put this back together, and I'll pick it up here in just a minute. Okay, I think I got this on right. So I just draped this piece back over this back cable, and I hope I got this right, so we'll find out here shortly. So these kind of points to the back here. If you look, it's got that long piece, and then I guess you could drape your brake shoe like this. Notice that the hole down here, you can tell the bottom of the shoe because it's got just a single small hole down there where that bottom spring went. And I put the pin in, that pin right there, I pushed it in through this way, put the spring washer in there, push the clip in, and just pinch the clip closed. And so now when you put this on, the theory is this should be in the back, so you just pull it, rotate it around, and see how the hook down right there is on the bottom, and this eventually will go into that slot right there. And so when you took it off, kind of swung it like this and worked it out. So I hope that makes sense. It's kind of tricky. Just keep I don't know how easy to tell you how to put that back on, but it's just kind of tricky like that. Hope that makes sense. So again, looking at the brake shoe, if I'm getting this right, which we'll find out here shortly, the pin came in through the back. This is a long end going this way, kind of a horseshoe shape. Anyways, hopefully that makes sense. Alright, so this job turned out to be so hard. I'm going to call and find out how much they would have charged for this. Probably want a lot for it, but you never know. I wouldn't recommend you attempt this unless you get a lot of patience. Turned out to be a lot harder than it looks. Normally back drum brakes are pretty easy, but on the Civics, I mean, this is 1999, and so it was 2017, so like 17 years later is the first time they had to be done. So granted, I mean, they're built really good the last 17 years, and you know, after doing this, it's probably going to last another 17 years. Probably not as long because some of these parts aren't OEM anymore. But anyways, it was so hard that it took me a long time to do this, and I'm not gonna, didn't want to film it because it was just taking so long. So I'll just briefly explain to you what I did. So first thing I did is swung up this back brake shoe and put this clip in. That held this in place for me. I ended up having to open up the bleeder screw because the cups kept expanding out, and then it was hard to press it in, and you can't really, they say you can't compress fluids very well, and it sure wouldn't do it. You know, they push in this side and it would pop the cup out on this side, and then it would be very hard to press back in. So I'm gonna have to bleed the brakes when I'm all done with this because I got a lot of air in there. But that being said, is I cracked the bleeder when needed to keep these from fighting me, and put this on, put the clip on. Then the next thing I did, which I think this is probably the quote easiest way, is I put this top spring on. And so I just put it on, and then, you know, the brake shoe's kind of hung up here with that spring on. Then I position, I'll call it the spoon, I don't know what this thing's called, this bracket here. And it's got a long side and a short side, and the short side goes to the back. So I got that into position, and then I had to, basically while holding the brake shoe, kind of get it just right to where you need it to go in this notch. There's a notch on both these things that the brake shoes sit in. And I had to get it in the notch and hold it at the same time and try to get this into the spoon into the correct little slot there. This is symmetrical, so it doesn't, there's not like a front or a back. So I got it in a position, and then next I took this piece, which is just held in by a rivet, and I put it in, and I had to kind of fight with it. I use these holes a little bit with screwed like a needle nose pliers to help balance things out and stuff, but basically got it to slide in behind there. And then I put the spring on, which is actually pretty easy. You clip it on the top, and it's a symmetrical spring, and it's bent 90 degrees, so this side goes kind of to the front, and this side goes out towards you. But that was easy. I just took my needle nose pliers, grabbed it at the base, pulled it down, and popped it in there. So then I had the brake kind of all put together, and then I put this clip on. And these you just take, like, I was using pliers. You just press this to compress it. You gotta use your other hand to hold the pin so it doesn't spin on you. And then when you get this compressed enough, you just close the clamps, and then you turn it, and it locks it in place. You gotta have a little bit of hand strength to do that. And it would be easier with two people, because then you could use two hands to push on it. Then the final spring was this. This wasn't too bad, although it wasn't too easy. I just took the spring. This is not the original spring. The original spring is a lot nicer, but it got bent taking it out. So I put this end in here first. Oh, notice this little clip right here. Your brake shoes need to go behind that. Then I put this on here, and it just sits about right there. And what I did is I grabbed the needle nose pliers, grabbed it here, pulled it back, past it, and it's like just weirdly, it just like this tip of this hair just caught in there, and so it held. And then what I had to do is take my pliers and come in from the back and gently kept pushing on it, and it finally just popped in and slid into position. And I thought that was going to be really hard, and it turned out to be not as hard as doing this assembly up here. That should be it. So then you want to make sure you close your brake bleeder screw, and then you're going to have to bleed the brakes when you're all done. Now, one other thing, as you're putting it together, you got those slide spots where I greased those up earlier, and you can see that they got a symmetrical pad on this side. Also, another thing is I said that these pads have a front and a back. That's like well, maybe American car manufacturers. Every car brake drum system I've seen had short ones in the front and long ones in the back. The Honda, apparently, they're the same brake pad, so there's no front or back, which is just kind of weird. There's a high angle to it, so they may have figured it out that by shifting this up and this down, there's no need for a short side and a long side. That's a theory I should check out. I don't know if American cars are, I think their brakes are more horizontal, to where if you notice this one's higher and this one's lower, so maybe that's how they got away from not having separate brake shoes. Anyways, that being said, these anti-wear spot, or these, I don't know what you call these little flat spots here, there's identical ones on the other side, so you can look to make sure that this is kind of like, here you go, this one here is kind of like lined up with that where I put the grease on there, the anti-seize, and you can do that to help make sure that you've got the brake lined up in position, because they should sit right on that. That's what these there's little raised spots there. That's what, so the pad sits back on there, or the shoe sits back on there. So anyways, that's about it. I'm gonna have to do a lot of editing on this video, because I was just going along doing it, and boy, it got hard real quick. So yeah, I don't advise, if you're the weak of heart of doing these rear brake drums on the 96 through 2000 Civics, because boy, it was a lot harder than I thought it would be. In theory it's easy, but just the tensions of the springs, and actually I like the American design better. I actually have tools. You have like an American one, you use a tool like this, and the springs all go to a center point, and you just use the back of the spring if you have the right tool. It's like super easy to do brake shoes on like a trailer or an American made car. This is an excellent design, but boy, it was hard, and it might have just been my lack of experience. I mean, this is the first time in 17 years I had to do it on this vehicle. So anyways, a lot of rambling there, but hopefully this makes sense. And if you have any questions, I'll attempt to explain them. But boy, it was a kind of a tricky job. Anyways, thank you for watching. And the only other thing is, I already think I mentioned this, I put some anti-seize there. I'm probably going to put some on the drum. Let me just put the drum on there. And these brakes, according to the manual, there should be self-setting. So I'll probably just put it on there, twist the star, which I completely compressed it all the way to get it in. I'll probably put the drum on there and expand it out to where it's just rubbing, and then it says I can just apply the brakes a couple times, and the self-adjuster should seat the brake for me. But I also got to bleed the brakes. Anyways, I hope that all makes sense. Thank you for watching. Okay, YouTube. So I can't find my camera, so I'm gonna have to use my cell phone. But I finally figured out how to put these brakes on. Thing is, you know, this is the first time in 17 years this thing's been changed, so you just don't do this that often. So the secret to this is you put your back brake on first, and you put your little clip in here, and so now it's held on. This thing, if you put pressure on here, the fluid will go through and just shoot this thing out, so you should be aware that's going to happen. I recommend you bleed your brakes when you get done with this. So at this point you got this shoe held in by this clip. Now this is assuming you already got your back brake. And anyways, so that's where you're at. Next, you just hook this spring in here, and you're holding this brake shoe because it's not attached, and you just hook the other top spring in there, and then what you do is you just muscle it. You grab this brake, because it's not attached, you can do whatever you want. You just pull it over, and you can use like a little bar for leverage or something if you need, but basically you just position that in and you bring it back down, and you don't worry about it being perfectly aligned. But what you've accomplished is now this spring is attached. You don't have to worry about it. Next, I take my shoe, and you take your shoe and you install it, and this thing's going to be, you know, not hooked on there. So just grab that brake shoe again, and you're using two hands. One hand's holding this, and just take that brake shoe, lift it up, and position it, and then you got this piece in. Then what you do is you hook the spring down here, so you can't see this spring. You just hook this in, you know, and then grab the brake shoe and bend it out, and just hook on that other end of the spring, and just pull that brake shoe back in place. Then you got these two springs kind of like sucking it in, and whoops, sorry. And you know, you adjust your shoe. Oh, I wish I had my camera. And then you put in this clip, and you're done with all the two hard springs, because the two hardest springs is this top one, this bottom one, and then getting this spoon in there. This you just put in and make sure it's behind this lever here, and then you put this top spring. I'll show you. Put this top spring in right here, and then you just grab this bottom piece right there, and you just pull it in, and it pops right in, and then you're done. Now this guy can be kind of tricky. A little trick I use on this is I use a pair of pliers. I press down. You gotta be kind of strong. Press this clip in, squeeze the pliers, and then might turn this way, which causes this to hit the brake shoe, so it doesn't keep spinning, and eventually you'll get enough to where it'll hold, and then you could kind of readjust and get it down. So I hope that makes sense. I really wish I could find my video camera. I don't know where it's at, but that is the secret of putting these together. I did this in like, I don't know, 5 minutes, to where the other side I struggled and struggled and struggled. So if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below, and hopefully this will help out somebody else putting drum brakes on.